Welcome to the firing line. Let us talk about a massive lie circulating in the modern firearms community. The tactical marketing machine is working overtime right now. They want to convince you that if your rifle does not have a $3,000 skeletonized chassis, you cannot hit your target. They act like if your handguard does not have more M-lock slots than a Lego set, you might as well throw rocks. That is complete garbage. Long before we were arguing about polymer blends and modular accessories, American hunters were putting meat in the freezer with blued steel and solid walnut. Today, we are breaking down 5 legendary weapon systems. These are not delicate safe queens that only see daylight once a year. These are absolute workhorses that will outlast you, me, and that trendy plastic wonder rifle sitting on the gun shop wall. Let us dive into why traditional craftsmanship still dominates the 21st century woods. Coming in at number 5, the Marlin 336. If you grew up hunting whitetail east of Interstate 95, you know this silhouette perfectly. Rolling off the production line in 1948, this platform has harvested more game than practically anything else in American history. Back in the day, while the bolt gun guys were still working their action for a follow-up shot, the lever action operators were already putting a second round on target. Most of these are chambered in the undisputed king of the brush, 30-30 Winchester. Inside 200 yards, that cartridge is a devastating man-stopper and a guaranteed tag filler. But what made Marlin a true game-changer was the receiver geometry. They built a solid top receiver with side ejection, leaving the competition scrambling to catch up. Why does that matter? Because it allowed everyday shooters to mount traditional magnified optics low and tight to the bore axis. Plus, that tubular magazine sits flush with the barrel. You do not have a sharp metal box magazine gouging your ribs while you hike through thick timber. If you are hunting for one on the used market, track down a JM-stamped model built between the 50s and the 80s. That era represents the absolute pinnacle of their manufacturing quality. We are talking hand-fitted walnut, deep bluing that looks like black glass, and a lever stroke that feels like it runs on ball bearings. In heavy brush, this short, fast-handling carbine is practically unbeatable. Let us run through the pros. First, that side ejection makes adding modern optics completely effortless. Second, the manual of arms is incredibly fast for rapid follow-up shots on moving targets. Third, you can walk into literally any rural hardware store and find 30-30 Winchesters sitting on the shelf. Now for the cons. The tubular magazine limits your ammunition choices. You absolutely must run flat nose or polymer-tipped rounds to prevent a chain fire detonation inside the tube under heavy recoil. Because of those blunt bullet profiles, your ballistic coefficient drops like a rock past 200 yards. Also, if your muscle memory is built entirely around the M4 platform, running a lever gun fast requires serious dry fire practice. Finally, keep a close eye on the loading gate spring on vintage models, as they can wear out and cause feeding malfunctions. Number 4 on our list, the Winchester Model 94. This is not just a gun. This is a piece of American identity. John Moses Browning designed this masterpiece, and it literally conquered the American frontier. With over 7 million units produced since 1894, its track record is absolutely staggering. Just like the Marlin, it thrives on the 30-30 Winchester cartridge. But the physical handling dynamics are entirely different when you shoulder it. When you pick up a 94, it is incredibly slender. It weighs almost nothing, carrying effortlessly in your hand like a perfectly balanced walking stick. If you are pushing through dense thorns or strapping it to a four-wheeler, that ultra-slim receiver profile is exactly what you want. If you want the best of the best, you are looking for a pre-1964 production run. Before the company changed their machining processes in '64 to save money, these rifles were essentially handcrafted works of functional art. They used superior steel alloys, and internal parts were milled from solid blocks, not cheaply stamped. The defining characteristic here is the top ejecting action. It throws spent brass violently straight up into the air. It is an incredibly satisfying mechanical process that connects you directly to the cowboys of the late 19th century. Here are the pros. The historical significance is off the charts. You are holding a literal legend in your hands. It is arguably the fastest pointing rifle ever made for snap shooting in thick woods. And mechanically, It is a rugged, robust system that refuses to die if you keep it lubricated. Moving to the cons, that iconic top ejection is highly problematic for modern glass. You are forced to use offset side mounts or push a long eye relief scope way forward on the barrel. Next, the collector market has absolutely exploded, meaning a pristine pre-64 model will seriously drain your bank account. Lastly, loading the 94 requires strict attention. If you do not push that rimmed cartridge fully past the loading gate, it will pop back out under the lifter. That causes a nasty malfunction that is extremely frustrating to clear with cold hands in the field. Sliding into the number 3 spot, the Remington 700. Hitting the market in 1962, this action is the absolute foundation of the modern precision rifle world. Think of it as the small block Chevy V8 of firearms. It is the universal standard that every other bolt action on Earth is measured against. The United States military did not just pick this blindly for their M40 and M24 sniper programs. They chose it because the cylindrical receiver is incredibly rigid. That tubular shape makes it phenomenally easy to bed perfectly into a synthetic or wood stock. That structural stiffness is the secret behind its legendary out-of-the-box accuracy. But the true superpower of the 700 is the aftermarket ecosystem. You can transform a bare action into a 6-pound backcountry hunting rig, or you can drop it into a 20-pound tactical chassis for ringing steel at 1,000 yards. If a company manufactures rifle accessories, they make parts for the 700 footprint. It does not matter if you shoot .308, .30-06, or some exotic wildcat round. The bolt design utilizes 2 massive front-locking lugs and a recessed bolt face that fully surrounds the cartridge case head. It provides a massive ring of steel around the primer, making it exceptionally safe if a case fails. If you can locate a vintage BDL or ADL model from the 70s or 80s, grab it immediately. Let us look at the pros. The modularity is completely unmatched. It is a blank canvas for your dream build. The accuracy is consistently sub-MOA, even with factory match-grade ammunition. And the sheer volume of available calibers means there is a model for every application on the planet. Now the cons. We have to address the elephant in the room regarding the Walker fire control system. Older triggers had a documented safety flaw that could cause unintentional discharges. Always verify the safety mechanic, but my professional advice is to immediately upgrade to a Timney or a TriggerTech unit. Furthermore, modern entry-level models often ship with hollow, flexible plastic stocks. These cheap stocks will contact the barrel under pressure and completely destroy your barrel harmonics. Finally, if you are pushing the pressure limits with spicy hand loads, the bolt lift can become heavily bound up compared to premium European actions. Coming in hot at number 2, the Winchester Model 70. Generations of outdoorsmen call this the rifleman's rifle, and that title is absolutely earned. Born in 1936, this is the undisputed king of American sporting arms. The beating heart of the Model 70 is its controlled round feed operating system. Unlike push feed designs that just shove the round blindly into the chamber, the Model 70 captures the cartridge rim under a massive steel claw the microsecond it leaves the magazine. Why is that critical? Because you can run that bolt while diving into a ditch, hanging upside down, or crawling through brush, and it will never double feed or jam. It also features an ingenious 3-position wing safety located on the bolt shroud. This design allows you to cycle the action and extract a live round while the firing pin remains physically blocked. When you are freezing cold and trying to unload safely in the dark, that feature is a lifesaver. Once again, the pre-1964 variants are the holy grail of the gun world. Those New Haven-built rifles are the gold standard of mass-produced firearms. However, the modern classic series that revived the claw extractor are phenomenal shooters in their own right. When professional guides are tracking wounded grizzly bears in heavy timber, this is the action they trust with their lives. Here are your pros. Controlled round feed offers absolute zero-compromise reliability in extreme conditions. The 3-position safety is simply the most intuitive and secure system ever put on a bolt action. And these rifles appreciate in value every single year. They are legacy assets you can pass down to your kids. Let us talk about the cons. Quality comes at a steep price. Finding a clean pre-64 action will cost you serious money. They are machined from solid billets of steel, making them significantly heavier than modern carbon fiber builds. If you are hiking above 10,000 feet, you are going to feel that weight pulling on your shoulder strap. Also, sourcing specific replacement parts for those vintage actions often requires tracking down a highly specialized gunsmith. Taking the crown at number 1. The legendary Mauser 98. This is the unquestioned granddaddy of modern precision and hunting rifles. Engineered in 1898 by Paul Mauser, it remains the gold standard of bolt-action architecture. Almost every premium rifle you shoot today, including the Ruger 77 and the Winchester we just discussed, stole their homework from this German platform. This action was literally battle-tested in the brutal mud and blood of 2 global conflicts. It utilizes that giant non-rotating external claw extractor for flawless feeding, but the real genius is in the safety redundancies. Behind the 2 primary locking lugs, there is a third safety lug. If you somehow manage to blow up the gun and shear the front lugs, that rear lug is the only barrier keeping the bolt from launching directly into your skull. Mauser also engineered large gas escape ports into the bolt body. If a primer pierces or a case head completely separates, high-pressure gas is aggressively vented downward, protecting your vision. It is a masterclass in over-engineering. After the wars, thousands of these surplus military actions were transformed into high-end sporting rifles. They can swallow the absolutely punishing chamber pressures of massive safari calibers without breaking a sweat. When professional hunters in Africa needed a stopper rifle to anchor a charging Cape buffalo, they bet their lives on the Mauser 98. Pros. The reliability is universally respected. It is the dictionary definition of a bomb-proof operating system. The sheer strength of the receiver allows you to build custom rifles in almost any Magnum cartridge imaginable. And from a collector standpoint, you own the mechanical blueprint that reshaped global warfare. Cons. Buying a military surplus rifle requires deep technical knowledge. You have to carefully inspect the bore condition and verify the headspace, or you are buying a dangerous pipe bomb. The firing pin lock time is noticeably slower than a modern precision action. The bolt throw is also quite long, and unless you have a gunsmith polish the raceways, it can feel a bit sluggish. Finally, feeding it original surplus calibers like 8mm Mauser can get incredibly expensive compared to modern standard cartridges. These 5 distinct platforms prove a simple truth in the firearms world. Just because a design is brand new does not mean it is tactically superior. Whether you need a fast-handling brush gun or an ultra-stable foundation for a precision build, these classics deliver. They are still standing because they simply refuse to fail. Head down to the comments section right now. Let me know which of these legendary platforms you currently have locked in your safe, or tell me the one you regret selling. If this breakdown gave you a better understanding of firearms history and mechanics, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our next deep dive into the gear that actually matters. Keep your powder dry, train with purpose, and I will see you on the firing line.